Well, it's so good to see everybody joining us. I see those numbers are rising, so that means people are logging in for our question and answer session with the superintendent and our staff here in Alexandria City Public Schools. So I'm looking forward to hearing from each and every one of you. I'm going to give us about 10 more seconds to allow more students to log into our session so that we can go right ahead and begin. Okay, here we go. So first and foremost, I have to tell you, I'm Dr. Hutchings, the superintendent of Alexandria City Public Schools and the proud superintendent of Alexandria City Public Schools. And we're so excited to see each and every one of you today. Today, it is all about hearing your voice. This is your opportunity to ask us questions about our reopening of our schools, or to ask any questions that you may have about our virtual world. And we want you to use the chat box to ask your questions so that we can answer them throughout today's program. So before we begin, I do want to introduce a very special guest to each and every one of you. Dr. Herring is our director of the Alexandria Health Department. And we're so excited to have him here today because he's going to give you some insight and some tips on how do we remain safe during this global pandemic, and what are some things that you all can do as we transition back into our schools, and even when you're at home, what you can do to keep yourself as well as your families and your friends safe during this global pandemic. So Dr. Herring, I'm going to turn things over to you.
Sure. So there are three things when you're in public, when you're coming to school, that you can do. One is to maintain a 6-foot distance. 6 feet is longer than most people think, even me. So we got yardsticks around here at the health department. But maybe start measuring some common things around your house, your couch or something, and that gives you a visual, it gives you a good idea of what a 6-foot distance is, and that's what you'll want to maintain between yourself and others. That's the first thing, 6-foot distance. The second is wearing a face mask, wearing a covering over your nose and mouth. Covers your nose and mouth. Not just your mouth, not your chin, but it's got to cover your nose and your mouth at all times, except certain instances, for instance, when you're eating. But wearing that mask is very, very important. And the third thing is washing your hands consistently. I'm not going to sing the song for you all, but what we do, what I do, and what we tell people is to sing the happy birthday song when you're washing your hands under soap and water. Be sure to get between your fingers, the back of your hands. Do that for 20 seconds. Time yourself and see how long that is. That's actually a pretty long time. If there's not a sink and soap and water available, using a hand gel. So those are the three things to do in public. The physical distancing, the face mask, the frequent hand washing, and then the final thing is, don't come to school if you're sick. If you're feeling ill, if it's a cough or sore throat, a headache, anything like that, tell your parents, your guardians about that, and don't come to school until you're checked out. So those are the really important aspects and things to remember. So
Thank you,
it's a
Dr.
pleasure
Herring.
to be here.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Herring. And it's always so good to have an actual medical doctor that provides us guidance and advises us on what we need to do, because I'm a doctor of education. He's the medical professional, which I really appreciate. But I just told him this at our last session. I really think he missed his calling of being an educator and being in our classroom. So when we get back into when we reopen our buildings, we are going to have Dr. Herring come out and speak to our students in their classrooms, which is going to be completely awesome. So let's go ahead and get right into our questions and our answers. And the first question is, will we still have the same class? So Dr. Mozingo, will students still have the same class
So
when we return?
When you return, oh yes, I'm sorry, yes. Good morning, everyone. Yes, you will still have, when you return, you will have a teacher in the classroom, you'll have some students in the classroom, maintaining that 6 feet social distance, and you will have some of your same classes.
Thank you, Dr. Mozingo. And what about how are we going to use the bathroom? You know, with all of these, CDC guidelines and things. How are we going to go to the bathroom, Dr. Mozingo? Or Dr. Hart? I'm sorry,
Well,
Dr. Hart.
No problem. So that's a great question. And so if you have a bathroom in your classroom, it will be one student per time, at a time to use that restroom, of course. But if we're talking about the group restrooms that are typically located in hallways, it would still more than likely only be one student at a time because we want to make sure that we continue to maintain that appropriate 6 foot social distancing.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Hart. So what if I lose my mask, Dr. Hart? Because I know that some students and staff members are concerned. If I lose my mask, will there be mask available or face coverings available?
There will absolutely be masks available. If you lose your mask, if one of your ear loops breaks throughout the day, if it gets dirty, or if you just happen to forget it on your way to school, we will make sure that there are replacement masks available for you, your friends, and your teachers throughout the day.
And Dr. Hart, while you're on this topic of masks, what about when we're eating lunch? What does that look like? I mean, do we take our mask off to eat?
So yes, yeah, you will be able to take your mask off when you eat. What we would ask is at the time that you're having lunch or breakfast or even a snack throughout the day, that as soon as you're done, that you wash your hands and that you put your mask right back on. And that we do limit talking and interaction because what we're trying to make sure that we're conveying is that the mask is what keeps you and your friends and your teachers safe. So wearing that appropriately, as Dr. Herring has already stated, is really what we want to focus on. So take it off to eat, but as soon as you're done, we're going to put it right back on.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hart. And Dr. Mazingo, what does recess look like? Because we want to make sure that our students are still getting their physical activity, but what will recess look like, and will they go outside?
So very good, another very, very good question and an important question around about recess and being outside. One of the things I know that the principals and teachers have discussed is the possibility of a walking break, a walking recess, where you would still go outside, maintain the 6 feet social distance, to wear your mask. So that's an idea, but you won't be able to play like the traditional tag. I know that's probably what we really want to be able to play is tag, but you won't be able to play that. And lastly, we think that they'll probably still have areas on the playground where you can rotate students through different activities. So no tag, but definitely some recess for you.
Thank you, Dr. Mazingo. And there was a question that said, "Can I still ride my bike to school?" And absolutely, you can still ride your bike to school, but you still want to make sure that you're following those CDC guidelines, that you're wearing masks, that you're not, getting too close to people as you're riding to and from school. But you can absolutely continue to ride your bike to school. So, Dr. Herring, do we have to get vaccinated before we come back to school?
For the COVID-19 vaccination, no, that's not a requirement to come back to school. Of course, there's other vaccinations that are required, but you might already know about those. But that's something the school nurses keep up on in terms of making sure that everybody gets the vaccinations required by law. But for the COVID-19 vaccine, it's not required. I certainly recommend it. I'm going to get it, and I recommend that people get it when it becomes available.
Thank you, Dr. Herring. So Dr. Mazingo, I love my encore classes, which we all love them too. Are we going to have them? Are we still going to have encore classes when we return?
Well, I want to answer that in this way. We do have a team of teachers and others working on how to provide encore when you return. They've talked about the possibility some encore still could be provided through Zooming, but also we could provide the dance, the drama, and other encore activities while in school. So we are working towards saying yes and making that happen for you.
So yes, we will have encore
We
for,
will have
our
encore
students
for our students
when they return.
when they return.
So when do you think the schools will reopen? And that's a great question, because we're going to start opening our school buildings to our students that are able to return beginning January the 19th. And the goal is for us to have our transition of students through February. So by the end of February, we would have all pre-K through 12th grade students that are able to return in our schools. Now, we have to keep in mind that all of this is contingent upon staffing, upon our building capacity, as well as upon our community health metrics, such as, how many people in our community have tested positive, what the community spread looks like throughout the city of Alexandria will also be some of the determining factors of when we return back to school. But our goal is to get students coming back as soon as January the 19th. So Dr. Hart, I have a question for you. How are we going to sit in our classrooms? So what is that going to look like?
So what it'll look like is you'll either be at a desk, or I know some rooms are situated with tables, and it would probably be one student per table and one to each desk. But knowing that there will be that 6-foot space in between each student desk or table, so not as many people in the classroom, and the desk or furniture will be spaced out to meet that 6-foot social distancing guideline. The desk would still be facing forwards to the front of the classroom. And your teacher would be at the front of the classroom as well. So that setup will be familiar.
And will we have to wear masks and will we have to wear gloves with this 6 feet apart setup?
You will definitely have to wear masks. Gloves are not required, but you will have to wear your mask throughout the day inside the classroom and inside the buildings. Yes.
Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you. So what about the library, Dr. Mazigo? Can we still use the library when we get back to school?
Well, yes, you will be able to use the library when you get back to school. There will be some conditions. However, it may be like in the public library, you may be able to check books out for like 48 hours and return them. But we have our media specialists and librarians working on the process. Reading, as Dr. Hutchins said earlier, reading is fundamental. So we're going to make sure that you have access to all of those resources within our libraries.
Thank you, Dr. Mazingo. So what if I'm feeling sick in the middle of the day? Dr. Crawford, what do we do if a student is feeling sick, or if a teacher is feeling sick, or if a principal is feeling sick throughout the day? Like, what happens? What's our protocol for that?
This is a great question. And good morning, everyone. What I would say is follow the normal protocol that you would at school. So if you are in class in the morning and your stomach starts to hurt, or you develop a sore throat, what you would typically do before we went to virtual learning is you would tell your teacher, and then you would go and get checked out by the school nurse. We're very lucky to have school nurses in all of our buildings. So we would follow the same process. We want to be a little bit more aware of how we're feeling. Dr. Herring mentioned at the beginning, if you don't feel well before you even come to school, we really encourage everybody, including our staff members, our teachers, our principals, our custodians, cafeteria workers, everybody, to not come to school if you don't feel well. But during the school day, if you don't feel well, then please mention it to your teacher or whatever adult you're with, and they will have you go to the nurse, and the nurse will do her normal routine of making sure that you're well. If the nurse thinks you need to go home, then we will certainly contact your parent, guardian, aunt, grandma, whoever you live with, to come and pick you up. And we'll make sure that we're staying in touch to see how you're feeling. So that process is pretty similar to before, but we do want to, like I said, be a little bit more alert about how you're feeling. And if you don't feel well, tell an adult so that you're able to get checked out by the nurse and go home if needed.
Thank you so much, Dr. Crawford, for explaining that. And Dr. Hart, will we have to have glass around our desk? I see pictures with things around our desk. So what is that?
So it's not glass. What it's called is a sneeze guard, and a sneeze guard sits at the front of your desk. And what that does is just add an additional layer of protection to keep us all safe when we are sitting in the same space, essentially. So it's not glass. It's more of like a plastic type of material. It does not go all the way around the desk, but it does sit in the front of your desk. And again, it's there to just be an extra safety measure so we can make sure that everyone is staying as safe as possible in our classrooms and in our buildings.
So this is a question in regards to play. Like, can we play football and can we play basketball? Because that happens sometimes during our recess. So can our students play football or basketball outside? And I know that if we got to adhere to those social distancing. I don't know if you can play football and basketball with the 6 feet apart. But Dr. Mazingo, you want to talk to that?
Well, what a great question. And I think the answer though still is seriously is that, we're going to be very safe, right? And we can't play games that are similar to tag and where you're touching each other. So we're going to have to work with our physical education teachers and others to really give us guidance in that area, because ultimately we have to keep you safe at all times.
Which
Right,
there are a
Dr.
lot of
Herring?
games out there. That's right. Which there are a lot of games out there that
Yeah,
don't require the physical contact,
physical,
that we can
yes.
still get some of that physical activity. And we've been incorporating some of this with some of the after care programs and some of our child care programs where they're getting some physical activity and doing walks and things of that nature in different games. So what will teachers do when they need a substitute, Dr. Wilkins? It's a question for Dr. Wilkins and for HR. So what will teachers do when they need a substitute?
Thank you for that question. The answer is that teachers will request a substitute as per normal, and that is in coordination with the school principal. And the principal will help determine whether another teacher can be assigned to cover that class, or in fact, a substitute needs to be requested. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wilkins. So this is a question about music classes, because in our music classes, students are using instruments that require them to use their mouths to play. Is that something that can still happen? And Dr. Herring, have you heard any research on, using musical instruments in spaces, using your mouth? I mean, has that been known to contribute to the spread?
I don't know that. That is a very good question. I know our medical director, Dr. Luke, is on this call, and she might have an answer to that. I do know that there's exceptions, and also that when there are performers, it's not 6 feet of distance. It's actually 10 feet of distance that's recommended, but I don't know if Dr. Luke's actually on and able to add anything about this.
That is correct. That is my understanding as well, that if there's a musical instrument, including your voice, that you need to be 10 feet away instead of 6 feet away because of the projection.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Luke. So, so another question, we're going to keep going. Can we still bring toys and Pokemon cards from home to play with at recess? And the Pokemon cards, you're swapping cards, right? So that's interaction with another student. So we probably would not want you to do that in the schools. Now you can have the Pokemon cards that you may want to show and demonstrate in the front of the classroom, that's 6 feet apart from other students, but trading those cards and things of that nature, it's not going to be permitted within our schools. We're just trying to make sure that we're keeping everybody safe and we're keeping all of our students socially distanced during this particular time. So will we still have an asynchronous day on Monday, Dr. Mazingo?
Yes, you will. Yes, you will still have an asynchronous day on Mondays.
Thank you, Dr. Mazingo. How many people will be in a classroom? So Dr. Hart, can you talk to how many people will actually be in a classroom?
Sure. That is going to ultimately depend on the school that you are assigned to. All of our schools are built a little bit differently, which means that classroom sizes, some are smaller, some are larger, and we do have to make sure that we are keeping in mind that 6 foot social distance. So it just depends on the school, but more information will be coming soon that gives you specific numbers for each school.
Thank you, Dr. Hart. So how do we walk through the hallways, and how do we make the halls safe? So if we're walking through the halls, how does that happen, Dr. Hart?
So sure. So a few things. There will be markers on the floor and signage on the wall to continue to remind us to stay that 6 feet apart. Making sure that you are properly wearing your mask when you are in the building is very key, as well as teachers and other staff will help with reminders to make sure that everyone is following that 6 foot social distancing guideline and guidance as we are walking through the hallways. So we will make sure that everyone is kept safe when you all are in the buildings, to include walking in the hallways.
Thank you, Dr. Hart. So, Dr. Crawford, if you can answer this question for us in regards to COVID testing, as well as like temperature checks. So, will students be required to be tested? And then also, what about temperature checks? Are those required?
Sure. Very good questions. And I'll start and then see if anyone from the health department wants to add on. Yes, we will be doing temperature checks on a daily basis for our students and our staff members. We know that one sign of COVID is fever. It doesn't mean it's the only sign. And sometimes people can have COVID and be asymptomatic. But yes, we will do our temperature checks every day for students and staff. And something that you all may not be aware of is that we're doing them right now. Before your principals, your teachers, anybody who needs to go into the school, our security and custodians, us, the superintendent, me, we go and we get a temperature check and we get screened before we go in. So temperature checks will be in place, as well as just some questions to check in every morning to say, how are you feeling? Are you having any of these symptoms? You all as fourth and fifth graders may have gone to the doctors or been to a business where they do this right now, where you get your temperature checked and ask you a couple questions. We'll be doing that too, to make sure that we're keeping you safe and all of the people around you safe. So as far as COVID testing at school, we do not have that as a plan right now. That is not something that we'll be doing as the school system. We'll be doing these other measures, encouraging people to stay home when sick, doing our temperature checks, and then doing types of screening with checking in to see how you're feeling health-wise. But I'm going to pause and see if there's anything to add on from the health department side.
Yeah, it would be occasional situations where we would recommend testing, but that's only if we thought there were people with close contact to a case, to somebody that was sick. But for routine testing, no, we're not recommending that.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Herring. So will we have to leave our computers at school? And no, you will not leave your computers at school. You will still take your computers home with you because there may be some asynchronous days on Mondays where you need those computers. So we just want you to be in a routine of constantly having your computer, and also making sure that your computer is available at all times, because you just never know what tomorrow brings. Can we still bring our own lunch from home? And that's a great question. We still will want you to bring your own lunch if that's what you choose to do. And some families choose to have their lunches prepared for their students. So you will still be able to bring your own lunch from home, but we still have to keep in mind lunch will be eaten in the classroom, that we will be eating lunch at our desk and things of that nature. So Dr. Hart, can you answer this question? How often will classrooms be cleaned?
Sure. We have actually created cleaning guidance that is available online, but I will share that our classrooms and just facility spaces will be cleaned regularly throughout the day. In terms of classrooms, we'll make sure that they are cleaned in the mornings. Of course, they'll be cleaned at night, and they will be cleaned during the day throughout any classroom transitions, or anytime students are going in and out of the classroom or switching classrooms for the day.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hart. So this student said, I always lose my pencil and I have to borrow one from a friend in the classroom. Can I do that if we go back to school? And I think that's a really good question. That was me in school as well, and I still lose my pens now. My executive assistant will tell you I'm always losing a pen. So we really want to keep you from having too many interactions with other students. So what we're going to have to do is make sure that if you are somebody who loses a lot of pencils, that we have some extra pencils in your desk for you, so that you don't have to borrow them from other students, because we really are trying to limit the interaction between students, the physical interaction between students in our classrooms. Dr. Mozingo, this is a question for you. What about field trips and assemblies? Will we still have field trips, and will we still have assemblies?
So this, I wonder if this is a fourth grader asking that question, because I know that most of our fourth graders tend to visit Jamestown in the spring of the year. So we are looking at virtual field trips. Not likely that you will engage in any field trips at this time, but the teachers, we will be exploring a lot of virtual field trips for students. And again, if as the schools, if we have assemblies, the assemblies will still have to meet those requirements in terms of, you know, the social distancing and wearing of the mask. Again, we're going to try to make sure that what you're learning is engaging and that you're very involved in that process, but still maintaining, keeping you safe during the process. But no field trips, but virtual field trips for you for sure. And we are exploring a virtual field trip for the fourth graders for Jamestown.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Mazigo. So Dr. Herring, I know you wear glasses. I wear glasses as well. Many of us do. And we know that they fog up when we have on our masks. So do you have any tips for our students with the mask and fogging up their glasses?
Yes, I do. So I'll put my mask on to show you. When I wear my glasses above the mask, it fogs up. So what I do is I adjust my mask up higher, I put my glasses on, and then I rest the nose bridge of my glasses over the mask, and then it doesn't fog up. So adjusting your mask upward and resting your glasses over the mask, for me, that's what's prevented the fogging up. Make sure that you maintain the mask over your mouth when you do this.
Thank you, Dr. Herring. I appreciate that, and I'm going to use that tip as well. So with the final question before we conclude is, can I hug my friends? And, you know, that is the one thing that we're all missing, that physical and social interaction. And I'm always used to giving hugs to our staff and, you know, my executive assistant, hey, how's it going? My family, extended family, not just the family in my home. And during this particular time in this global pandemic, we can't. We just got to limit the physical interaction with friends or anyone who lives outside of your household. So we are going to have to limit any hugs of friends and of teachers in our school buildings. But we do want to tell you all that we're so excited at the fact that you got engaged today with us and that you asked, I think, some very, very important and insightful questions. I want to thank our panelists for being able to answer all your wonderful questions. And I want to just remind you all that the Family Choice document is available in PowerSchool, and your families will have to have an account to be able to access the Family Choice form. And that information is going to go out this evening to all of our families in ACPS. What we need you to do is just remind your families to complete the forms, because that's going to allow us to know whether you're able to return or not when we reopen our school buildings. So with that said, I just want to continue to ask you all to remain engaged, to stay healthy, and to make sure that you're being safe during this global pandemic by wearing your face coverings and practicing social distancing. I also just want to thank everyone for joining us today, and I wish you well for the rest of your day. And I can't wait to see each and every one of you one day in person, and I hope one day really soon. Have a good day.